Welcome back and to this section on spreadsheets. In the last section we discussed Word, the big boy on the block when it comes to word processing. In a similar fashion, Microsoft's Excel is the granddaddy of all spreadsheet software. Following along that analogy, we use Word to manage text and documents. In a similar fashion, Excel is used to manage numbers, graphs, that sort of thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of my favorite pieces of software, Microsoft Excel.
Like Word, we launched the Excel program by double-clicking on the Excel Launch shortcut. Again, when we get to File Systems in Section 7, we'll learn how to create and organize shortcuts. But for now, let's just assume you can find it in your toolbar or on your desktop. The Excel shortcut icon will look something like this. Like Word, when Excel first opens, you get a page where you can either reopen saved spreadsheets or create a new one from a set of templates. Again, for our simple example here, we'll just use the blank spreadsheet. The Excel work area is set up like a giant grid, with all the columns labeled with ascending letters and the rows numbered down the page. This is column C and row 3, so this cell is C3. This cell is C4. Similarly, these are cells D3 and D4. To adjust the width of a column, you click and hold the grid at the top of the column and slide it where you want. To format an entire row, click on the number portion of the grid. The real magic of spreadsheets lies in your ability to create a formula in a cell which references the contents of other cells. Here, for example, we are going to put a label in cell C6 and then a value in cell D6. Now we'll do the same sort of thing here in cells C7 and D7. Now we'll put yet another label in C8 and a formula in D8. Let's try it again in row 9. Okay, this is a really trivial example, but think of the power you're dealing with here. Do you know we run our entire household budgeting system in Excel and it works perfectly? Yes, Excel is the big boy on the block when it comes to managing numbers. Okay, now let's see Excel's next cool trick. Excel knows about series. Check this out. We enter the values 10, 20, and 30 in 3 consecutive cells. I then highlight all 3 with my mouse and then grab this little crosshairs in the bottom right corner of the highlighted area. Start dragging in the direction of this series. Voila! Excel fills in the series on your behalf. Excel also is smart about its copying and pasting capabilities. Let's enter a value into this cell and right-click to copy. Now let's highlight a bunch of cells below that value and right-click to paste. Okay, that was cool, but not as cool as this. Watch what happens when we copy a formula. Did you see what Excel did? It copied the relative formula down the list. 15's equal to 10 times 1.5. 30's equal to 20 times 1.5, and so on down the list. Gang, that's powerful stuff. By the way, did you notice I didn't right-click when I did the paste? I used what Microsoft calls hotkeys. Hotkeys are key combinations which you can use instead of clicking your mouse. To copy, you hit the Control key and the C at the same time. To paste, you hit the Control key and the V at the same time. Hey, not my fault. I didn't say they were real intuitive, just that they're faster than clicking a mouse. Next, let's look at using one of Excel's many built-in functions. In this case, let's use the sum function to add up the contents of this whole column and then copy that formula to the 2 other columns. Oh, I am such a numbers person, and that sort of stuff just makes me happy. If we wanted to edit our formula, we could simply go to that cell and edit the contents up here in this area. Did you notice how the highlighted area changed in the spreadsheet as I was changing the formula up here? Okay, let's finish this part of our example by formatting the numbers in columns G, H, and I. I first select the columns by left-clicking on the top and dragging my cursor across my 3 adjacent columns. These are the standard number formatting icons. We'll use the standard comma notation for these columns, but if I right-click, a huge number of formatting options would have been available. Let's finish our formatting by changing the number of decimal places. Next, Let's take a look at some of Excel's graphing capabilities. We'll start by adding a text-based series to our data. Now come on, that was pretty cool. I started the series of labels and Excel finished them for me. Okay, a quick and dirty graph of our 4 columns of data. First, I highlight the data and go to the Insert tab because we're going to insert a graph. I pick my graph type, and just that quickly my graph is done and waiting for a clever title. To really dress up your graphs, right-click on them. The formatting options are staggering. Just a minute ago, we used the sum function to add up a bunch of values in a column. Sum is just one of over 400 functions pre-built into Excel for you. There are built-in functions for just about everything from accounting to trigonometry. By the way, did you notice that in our example that we just did here, we added cells which contained values of 2, 2, and 2, and got a sum of 5? Anybody know why? Well, if you'll recall, we previously formatted columns G, H, and I to have 0 decimal places. But remember, all the values in column H are actually 1.5 before we reformatted them and rounded them up to 2 with 0 decimal places. 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 is 4.5, which rounds up to 5 when formatted with 0 decimal places. Lesson: be careful when removing precision from values in Excel. You'll end up getting odd-looking results even if Excel is behaving correctly. Okay, now let's talk about worksheets. But first, let me resize this window so we can show multiple windows on the desktop at the same time. An Excel worksheet is a single grid of values, but you can have as many worksheets in a spreadsheet as you like. You want really cool? How about formulas which stretch across worksheets? Sure, it's all cool and actually very common when you have detailed data on separate worksheets and then the summary on a separate worksheet from that. Oh, what fun with numbers! Stop me before I burst into flames. Okay, and just like Word, this is how you go ahead and save an Excel worksheet. Let's conclude our discussion of Excel with a graph copied from Excel into Word. This is very common when you're building a report with embedded graphs. Build the graphs in Excel and then copy and paste these graphs into Word. Easy enough, right? Well, be careful because here we are changing our values in Excel and changing the corresponding graph. Unfortunately, the changes did not automatically copy over to Word. Just a word of caution on using these tools together because it's very common practice. Make certain to re-update those graphs back into Word.
Oh, I hope you got a kick out of that section because I sure did. I just love anything to do with numbers. You spend 30 years of your life dealing with programming logic and numbers. It becomes part of your blood. Yeah, it certainly has for me. What did we learn? First, spreadsheets are broken up into a grid. The letters are the columns and they increase from left to right. The numbers are the rows, increasing top to bottom. Think about the third column and the second row as C2. Next, the real power of spreadsheets comes in the ability to enter a formula into a cell that references the values in other cells. Pure magic. For example, C2 might be equal to C5 times D4 minus E6. Great stuff. We next examined Excel's treatment of series. You start the series by entering numbers and or text into up to 3 consecutive cells. Grab the little crosshair, start dragging, and sure enough, Excel will finish the series on your behalf. Very cool. Saves lots of timing and mistakes. We next learned how Excel intelligently copies formulas throughout a spreadsheet, followed by Excel's use of built-in functions. There's literally a built-in function for everything you're ever going to need, from trigonometry to finance. You then got to see Rick's very cool graphing capabilities, multi-dimensional charts literally in just an instant or two. How far you choose to take your graphing capabilities is entirely up to you, but man, you will not run out of power on Excel. It's pure magic. Finally, we looked at worksheets and how a spreadsheet can be made up of multiple worksheets and how formulas can actually cross across multiple worksheets. Creating the most common use is detailed worksheets, which are summarized on a single summary worksheet. Great way to organize things like budgets and stuff like that. We ended the conversation looking at how Excel and Word can be made to work together by copying graphs out of Excel into Word, but only with a word of caution. Make certain that when you update those graphs in Excel, you also recopy those graphs into Word because the transfer will not be automatic. Okay, that concludes our discussion of spreadsheets. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did because I just think they're the coolest thing since sliced bread. Remember, keep on learning. Our next topic will be presentation software or Microsoft PowerPoint. Thanks. Bye-bye.